Welcome back. Today we join a craftsman taking on a demanding geometry, building a complete circular house from the ground up. He begins by staking a curved perimeter of oriented strand board around the prepared gravel base. Getting a perfect circle is critical. Any deviation here will multiply as the walls rise. Triangular wooden brackets anchor the formwork. They provide the necessary resistance against the immense lateral pressure of wet concrete. With the steel reef arc stakes set, a heavy-duty plastic vapor barrier is unrolled across the gravel. This continuous membrane stops groundwater from wicking upward into the porous concrete over the building's lifetime. It keeps the floor dry. The slab pour is a race against curing times. As the heavy mix flows from the chute, it must be aggressively shoveled and leveled across the reinforcing grid before it begins to set. A handheld concrete vibrator is plunged into the wet matrix. The rapid oscillation forces trapped air bubbles to the surface, consolidating the mixture. This prevents hidden voids that could compromise the slab's load-bearing capacity. The foundation must be monolithic. Once the concrete has cured enough to hold its shape, the wooden bracing is stripped away. The result is a crisp, perfectly radiused slab edge. The walls are constructed using aerated concrete blocks. These lightweight, highly porous units are easily shaped with a standard hand saw. Their cellular structure provides excellent thermal insulation, turning the structural wall into a continuous thermal break. A strip of roofing felt acts as a damp-proof course between the slab and the masonry. The first course of blocks dictates the plumb and level of the entire structure. The builder presses each unit flush, following the established curve. Instead of traditional thick mortar, this system relies on a specialized polyurethane adhesive foam. Applied with a gun, the thin-set adhesive cures rapidly, creating a bond stronger than the concrete itself. A rubber mallet and spirit level are constantly at hand. Because the adhesive layer is so thin, even a millimeter of vertical error must be corrected immediately, or the discrepancy will stack. The stacked bond creates a clean, sweeping geometric facade. Aerated concrete allows the curved profile to rise smoothly without the jagged stepping of standard cinder blocks. Setting the final top course, locks the cylindrical shell together. A circular wall is inherently stable against wind loads, naturally deflecting forces that would batter a flat surface. The primary envelope is complete. An electric saw levels the top perimeter to a precise tolerance. Removing the fine silica dust with a hand brush is mandatory. Adhesive cannot grip a contaminated surface. A custom steel ring is fabricated in the workshop. This central compression ring will serve as the architectural hub for the radiating roof structure. Back on site, stacked wooden pallets provide temporary, sturdy falsework to support the steel hub at its exact elevation. The wooden rafters are anchored to both the exterior masonry and the central steel ring. This creates a conical compression roof. Gravity pushes the rafters inward against the steel hub, which pushes back, locking the entire frame into a rigid, self-supporting canopy. Careful spirit level checks ensure the pitch remains consistent across all 360 degrees. Heavy-duty steel plates and brackets are driven into the joists to resist uplift forces from high winds. The radiating skeleton transfers the massive weight of the roof outward and downward into the load-bearing block walls. A pneumatic sprayer forces a white finish into the porous surface of the aerated concrete. The continuous spray seals the micro fissures in the blocks, creating a uniform, weather-resistant barrier across the sweeping facade. The roof decking requires complex geometric cuts. A circular saw trims the oriented strand board into custom wedge shapes. A breathable white membrane is stretched over the exterior to shed water while allowing internal moisture to escape. Below, oriented strand board panels are pushed into the bays to form a rigid interior ceiling plane. The door frame is secured directly into the aerated concrete using specialized masonry anchors. Checking for plumb is critical, as a twisted frame will cause the door to bind on its hinges. Expanding polyurethane foam fills the rough opening. As it cures, it creates an airtight, insulated gasket between the timber frame and the masonry wall. Wooden trim is tapped over the window, flashing with a rubber mallet. Trimming the excess flashing ensures water is directed outward, preventing rot around the penetrations. Inside, parallel wooden sleepers are laid over the concrete slab. This floating floor system isolates the living space from the cold thermal mass of the foundation. Heavy insulation is packed between the joists before the subfloor is secured. Each panel is measured and trimmed with a chainsaw to follow the room's curved perimeter. A tight, flush fit eliminates squeaks and movement underfoot, locking the floor assembly into a single rigid platform. Drafts are the enemy of thermal efficiency. Spray foam is injected into the upper corner joints, rapidly expanding to seal the junction between the ceiling panels and the block wall. This unbroken perimeter gasket prevents conditioned air from escaping into the roof cavity. A continuous vapor retarder is hoisted and stapled across the ceiling framing. Trimming the edges neatly against the wall ensures moisture from cooking and breathing won't migrate into the insulation, where it could condense and cause structural rot. Wooden battens are nailed over the membrane, pinning it securely to the joists. These battens create an essential air gap and provide a solid nailing surface for the final interior ceiling finish. Every roof penetration introduces risk. A circular hole is cut through the rubber flashing boot, membrane, and roof deck to accommodate the wood stove's double-walled chimney pipe. The cut must be perfectly sized to maintain a tight weather seal. Heavy beads of silicone sealant bed the flashing boot to the membrane before it is bolted down. This flexible seal will expand and contract with seasonal temperature shifts without tearing. Inside, the heavy metal stove is positioned on a fireproof tile hearth. The stainless steel flue is connected and clamped tight, ensuring dangerous exhaust gases are drawn safely up and out. A steel trim collar finishes the fan sealing penetration, shielding the surrounding combustible materials from the hot flue pipe. With the structural work complete, the stark construction site softens into a living space. Curtains are hung, and a heavy geometric rug is unrolled over the floor to dampen acoustics and retain heat. The geometry of survival becomes a home. A fire is built in the iron stove, the radiant heat immediately warming the insulated enclosure. In the end, structure and daily routine operate as one system. What began as a pile of raw blocks and lumber is now an unbroken shelter, holding back the elements. Every tight joint and sealed membrane is what this warmth now rests on. Survival is more than endurance. It is foresight.